Alright guys, today we are going to be reacting to Neil deGrasse. It's absolutely wrong about this. Thomas Sowell, the champagne. Let's see what's going on.
Of a massive experiment worldwide. The experiment is, will people listen to scientists? In this case, referring to medical professionals? In this particular case?
Say Anthony Fauci over allergy and infectious disease.
For example, what do you have to do to get to the point where you can believe what the scientist says and not the person who wishfully thinks something is different? Given the history of success of science and the methods and tools that enable it, it is in your interest to trust any emergent scientific consensus. And a consensus, unfortunately, we don't have a different word to use there, so I'm stuck with that. Normally, when you hear the word consensus, people just offer their opinions, and you get the average, or you get the majority of opinions.
Right.
A scientific consensus is not about opinions. It's about results, published, peer-reviewed, published results of experiments. And we speak of the consensus of those experiments. If they lean in one direction, it is in your interest to lean
follow
with
that direction.
Correct. I think for some of those quotes, they said, trust the scientist.
Yeah.
Yes, if the scientist is representing a consensus. If they're isolated, it's like, what's going on here?
It is far easier to again, I'm quoting from Intellectuals in Society.
Isn't that crazy that he became the thing that he criticized religion? Just follow the religion because it is or what it is. So he literally became the thing that he criticized. Interesting.
It is far easier to concentrate power than to concentrate knowledge.
Yes.
What bearing has that got on the influence that intellectuals have over society as a whole?
Because they believe that since knowledge is concentrated in people like themselves, what needs to be done is, in a quote from President Obama, is to put more power in the hands of the experts.
So the intellectual temptation is to say, look, we already know everything.
That's right.
If only we also had
the power,
all the power,
yes,
everything would be just fine.
Yes.
And what's wrong with that view? Why isn't that a sensible view?
One, they don't know everything. They don't know 1/10 of everything. In fact, I've argued that they probably don't know 1% of the consequential knowledge in a society.
Consequential knowledge is
consequential knowledge. They don't even know 1%. That's a very strong statement.
Is a concept that runs through this book. Explain that concept.
Knowledge whose presence or absence has consequences, serious consequences. I mean, I was once in a plane that was coming down for a landing in the Ithaca airport, and suddenly the pilot gunned the motor and went up again because someone in the control tower had reminded him that he hadn't lowered his landing gear. So that was consequential knowledge.
Right?
Yes, yes. I was just delighted that that person had his eyes open and his mind on his work.
So the notion here is that the kind of knowledge, the kind of consequential knowledge required to prove effective in governing a nation, such as the United States, with the biggest economy in the world, 300 million people, you can put together quite a large group of professors, and they're still not going to possess the knowledge that would enable them to run General Motors, for example, or to run the nation's healthcare system, for example.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, one of the things that has happened all around the world in the 20th century was that all sorts of countries have tried central planning. Now, the guys who run the central planning, they usually have advanced degrees from prestigious institutions. They have mountains of statistics sitting there, and they have all the experts of the country at their beck and call. And yet, when you take the power out of their hands and return it to the market, then all the hundreds of millions of people who don't have any of those things usually end up with a higher rate of growth and a more rapid decline in poverty.
Because consequential knowledge by its nature tends to be diffused, widely diffused.
Yes, yes.
Right. Let me quote Intellectuals in Society, quote, "The fatal misstep of intellectuals is assuming that superior ability within a particular realm can be generalized to superior wisdom or morality overall. Chess grandmasters, musical prodigies, and others who are as remarkable within their respective specialties as intellectuals within theirs seldom make that mistake." Explain that. Why would it, well, let's take an example. Noam Chomsky, whom you write about in Intellectuals in Society, whose work in linguistics, in the first place, I can't understand it, but as best I can tell, Everyone who
regarded.
exactly, everyone who understands his technical work within the field, within his discipline of linguistics, considers him one of the great figures of the 20th century. And his work in politics?
Absurdity. The same
Yeah.
can be said of Bertram.
LeBron James. Every time he opens his mouth, he thinks because he's a basketball player, professional basketball player, he can have opinions on politics. Stephen A. Smith, you can see him just talking about politics. You can tell he doesn't know anything. He literally doesn't know anything about politics. A lot of these people that are artists and they are in the entertainment industry, including in sports. As soon as they start talking about politics, you can literally tell that they never sat down and really understood what is politics, what is the right, what is the three branches of government, what is the Constitution, why we have a Constitution, why did this is called a republic and not a democracy. These people are dumbed down. And this is what happened. And they think because they're successful in one area, that somehow, by that in itself, somehow they're going to just become successful in the topic of politics, which is very complicated.
Russell and his landmark works on mathematics and other people in other fields, but they step outside their field. And when you step outside your level of specialty, sometimes that's like stepping off a cliff.
And why is it that intellectuals, that is to say people whose end product is ideas, should succumb to that temptation more than, to use your example, a chess grandmaster?
Because a chess grandmaster can be world famous for doing absolutely nothing more than winning chess tournaments and making displays, as many of them do, of playing 5 chess games simultaneously while blindfolded.
We'll begin with a quotation. Then candidate Barack Obama in July 2008, quote, "It's like these guys, Republicans, take pride in being ignorant. They should go talk to some experts and actually make a difference," close quote.
Well, talking to experts does make a difference. Many of the great disasters of our time have been committed by experts. You may remember FDR's brain trust, which according to later studies prolonged the Depression by several years. The whiz kids in the Pentagon under McNamara, who managed to mess up the Vietnam War. You can run through an impressive list of things, of disasters brought about by people with very high IQs.
Yeah, it's like the consultants. And I think Trump, I was watching Trump's part of it, right? I think I'm going to watch some, might react tomorrow to some of the speeches, but and the portion that I was watching, he was saying like a lot of consultants, a lot of politicians, they spend millions of dollars with consultants just to give them all these ideas that never works. And he basically went to a waitress, asked her, a waitress, about the idea of not paying taxes on a tip. And she said, that would be an amazing idea. And he took that idea. It just to show you, a lot of these people, they make a lot of money as consultants with politicians. And a lot of these people, they just overcomplicate a lot of things. And personally, I think a lot of these problems that we have in society is all common sense, folks. Common sense. Common sense. But let me know what you guys see in the comment section below. I would love to hear you guys' opinion. And in the meantime, guys, I will see you in the next one. I'm out. Peace.